Resumed seating after 6 months of emergency rule and has said it will review government spending under the 6-month emergency rule. It is the House's first plenary since the emergency was lifted yesterday by President Bola Tinubu. During seating at the conference hall in the legislative quarters on Aba Road, Speaker of the House Martin Amehule said the Assembly will investigate how funds drawn from the state's consolidated revenue accounts were utilized by the immediate past sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas.
And it is the 10th Assembly of River State that has the constitutional mandate to know what happens going forward. So we need to know what has spent.
Well, the lawmakers called on Governor Siminalayi Fubara to submit a list of commissioner nominees for screening. They also urged the governor to forward an appropriation bill for consideration.
The House also resolved that what call on the governor to commence the process of forwarding an appropriation bill to the Rivers and Assembly to cater for the financial plan that is expected to take us to the trajectory that Rivers people have been expecting. The budget that was passed by the National Assembly was, as we were told, implemented by the outgoing administrator. The 10th Assembly of River State didn't make an input to that document. We never saw it. We still don't have it.
All right. As you can tell, this is legal territory, so it takes a lawyer to break down what needs breaking down. My guest is the legal practitioner, Barrister Eugene Ode, and he joins me via the phone. Thank you, Barrister Ode, for making the time. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you for having me. Good evening, Mr. Oracle.
Good evening. All right, straight to business, as I like to say. The Assembly has resolved to review government spending under the emergency rule. Legally speaking, how much oversight power does the House have over funds already expended by the sole administrator?
Well, constitutionally, the House of Assembly has oversight functions over the actions of the state executive. But the question we would like to ask now is, was the sole administrator bound by the powers given the state assembly, okay, to oversight the state executive? By that, I want to also ask whether Ibok Ete can be qualified at the time when he held sway in Rivers State as a member of the state executive, or as the governor of the state, as the case may be. Ibok Ete was just an outstretched arm of the federal government. He was more like a minister appointed by the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. At the time when he was carrying out his functions in Rivers State as a sole administrator, he was reporting to Mr. President and the National Assembly. In fact, Ibok Ete had the same powers as the Minister of FCT at that point in time. Of course, you know, the Minister of FCT reports to the President, and the National Assembly are the ones saddled with the responsibility and have the power to oversight the activities of the FCT Minister. So they were at the same level at the time when he was here. I say this because once there's a state of emergency, as was understood and operated by Mr. President and the National Assembly, it means that all democratic institutions in the state at that point in time were non-existent. Okay? You did not have the state House of Assembly. You did not also have the executive arm of government. And the federal government intervened to take over the functions of both the State House of Assembly and the state executive. So if there was anybody who had oversight function over, it was the National Assembly and not the State House of Assembly. They have a right to investigate, of course, no doubt. But the point will be, what will be the outcome? What will be the effect of their investigation? would they have the power to also make recommendations? Can they back and bite when it has to do with everything that went down during that 6 months interval? You can only investigate, you come out with your findings, but the truth is that you will not have the power to be able to take any actions whatsoever. Because normally, assuming you find that there was financial impropriety, what would you do? If it was the governor, you could still do. Or you still have to fall back to the National Assembly to say, okay, these guys had it, what training was here. And then the National Assembly are the ones who may probably do the investigation, and then whatever comes out of that investigation is what the president is going to act on, or the security operatives, the EFCC or the ICPC are the ones. So pretty much the outcome of what they are going to do is just like a private individual writing a petition to EFCC and ICPC. Other than that, they have no power to take any legal steps constitutionally against the administration of Ibokete.
Okay, so reaching out to the National Assembly to probe because they have the oversight functions. So who gets to reach out? The State House of Assembly or Fubara, the governor? Who is supposed to?
Any one of them can reach out. Because if you remember, even the budget itself, the budget that was printed during that period was passed by Mr. President. It wasn't passed by Ibokete. Okay? It was taken to the National Assembly, processed by due process, and then was taken to Mr. President for assent.
Okay.
And all those processes were fulfilled. Constitutional processes were fulfilled. So, and that's what I'm saying. If there's anything that has been done that anybody thinks is unlawful or illegal, all right, the proper channel would be to report it to the National Assembly. It was the National Assembly that passed the budget that was used within that period, and it was assented to by Mr. President. So it's now officially an act of federal government. Everything that was appropriated during that period was an act of the federal government. And every act of the federal government passed by the National Assembly cannot be set aside by a state house of assembly.
Okay.
These are the dynamics, constitutional dynamics.
Yeah, it's quite confusing. So hopefully we can reconcile all of the loose ends. Now, the House...
The only power the State House of Assembly has over the State Executive are the ones that will be exercisable from now till the end of this administration, and the ones that happened before the state of emergency was declared. That much the present State of House of Assembly has constituted can actually probe and act on.
Okay. All right. We have 2 minutes to the break, so you'd have to answer this as quickly as possible. The House has called on the governor to forward commissioner nominees and appropriation bill as well. Does the governor... Let's start with the commissioners. We'll get to the appropriation later. Does the governor have a constitutional timeline or obligation to do this?
Yeah, he does. He has the timeline, but this is not his administration. It's not a fresh administration, so you can't bind him by time.
Okay.
Okay. This administration is about 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is.
So it's just that there are some intervening circumstances that made it look as if the man is coming to start afresh. So you cannot bind him by time. He doesn't have any time frame within which, just like he can hire commissioners are his handmaiden. He has the power to hire and fire at his pleasure.
And if you
remember, some resigned at some point.
Yeah.
And he had to reappoint other ones to take their place, and so on and so forth. So he's not under any pressure.
Okay.
Appoint today, tomorrow, next tomorrow, as the case may be.
And if there are ministries without commissioners, is there a constitutional? I'm trying to phrase the question correctly. Is it allowed?
No. He's obligated by law to appoint commissioners. In line with federal character principle, he's obligated to appoint commissioners to fill in those vacancies.
Does federal character
But
work?
the appointment is at his pleasure.
Yeah, but does it work at the state level? I know that
Exactly.
for ministries,
At the state level.
for ministries there must be a minister from every state. But with commissioners, do we have that?
When it says to reflect federal character principle, if you look at the wordings of the Constitution, it's almost the same thing with the appointment of ministers. It just said that for states, it just says to reflect the federal character principle. Because the Constitution abhors a situation where only one sector of the society will take benefits of the government. So there has to be a spread in line with the ethnic and cultural dynamics of each particular state.
Okay. Well, we'll take that break now. After that, we talk about the appropriation bill that the House is asking the governor to present. Stay with us.
Assembly of River State that has the constitutional mandate to know time what happens going forward. So we need to know what has happened.
Welcome back. Those are the assembly members of the River State House of Assembly. Sitting after 6 months of emergency rule, they had their first plenary yesterday, and they said that they were going to look into the emergency rule spending. They also asked the governor to submit a list of commissioner nominees for screening and forward an appropriation bill for consideration. My guest is Barrister Eugene. He's a legal practitioner, helping us to get the legal perspective to all that's happening. You're welcome once again, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. So let's look at the call for the governor to propose an appropriation bill for the rest of the year. I was having a conversation with an analyst yesterday, and this is the part where I got the most confused, because a budget was passed in the emergency rule. And so far, at this time, it is Rivers State's highest ever budget, 1.4 trillion naira. So are the assembly members suggesting that we are done with that budget? Has that been invalidated? Why would there be need for another budget for the rest of the year? This year it just has about 3 months left, if I'm not mistaken. So what grounds